Hello everyone, my name is Mandy Dalton and today I'm going to be giving you a quick lesson on the cell cycle. This lesson is going to fulfill the SAS standard 3.1.10.A4, which is describe the cell cycle and the process and significance of mitosis. It is also going to be fulfilling the learning objective, list the phases of the cell cycle and describe the sequence of events that occurs during each phase. So here's a basic cell cycle. This is how cells replicate. One cell enters the cycle, and by the time that it's complete, it is split into two identical cells. So this cycle is divided into two main phases, interphase and the mitotic phase. The cell first goes through interphase, which begins with G1, or the first gap phase, also known as the first growth phase. This is where the cell grows larger and makes more of its organelles, ribosomes, and proteins. Following that is the S phase, also known as the synthesis phase. This is where the cell synthesizes a complete copy of the DNA from its nucleus as well as the centrosome. The last segment of interphase is the G2 phase, or the second gap phase. In this phase, the cell grows more, as well as creating extra proteins and organelles as it rearranges its contents to prepare for the mitotic phase. Inside the mitotic phase is both mitosis and cytokinesis, and mitosis can be further broken down into 5 parts, beginning with prophase. Prophase is when the cell starts to break down some structures and build others up. It is followed by prometaphase, which is when the mitotic spindle begins to capture and organize the chromosomes. After prometaphase is regular metaphase, which is when the spindle has captured all the chromosomes and lines them up at the middle of the cell, ready to divide. Anaphase is when the sister chromatids are pulled from each other and separate to opposite ends of the cell. The last step of mitosis is telophase, which is when the cell is nearly finished dividing and it starts to reestablish normal internal structures as cytokinesis takes place. Cytokinesis is the last step of the mitotic phase, but it is not part of mitosis, and it is the division of the cytoplasm to form two entirely new cells. So let's look at this a different way. So if we go here, we can view, starting with interphase, this is what the regular cell looks like. It's growing. We go to prophase, which you can see the cell starting to break down some things in here, some stuff's going on. Prometaphase, you can see the spindles here grabbing at the chromosomes and sort of starting to line them up in the middle. Metaphase, the spindles have captured all of the chromosomes and they're lined up perfectly right down the middle of the cell. Anaphase, you can see that these chromatids are being pulled to opposite ends of the cell. And telophase, the cell is nearly finished dividing but not quite, it is still connected. And cytokinesis, you have two separate cells that are made up of the same DNA structure, which then go back to interphase and repeat this whole cycle. So let's see what this looks like all together. You see it being pulled apart in a very fluid movement. Everything just goes through the process and gets pulled apart and divided into two different cells. So the results of the cell cycle are fairly simple. Ultimately, one cell becomes two cells. These cells are genetically identical, and if you think about it, they have a very exponential growth. As one cell splits into two cells, and each one of those cells splits into two separate cells. So you can see in the GIF below the text here, the one cell splits to two cells, which splits to 4, which splits to 8, which splits to 16, and before you know it, you just have so many cells you can't even understand what's going on. So that's all I have for you today. Feel free to go back to that animation and mess around. It's on this Cells Alive website right here. It also has some great other games and other animations that'll be able to help you if you have any questions. So have a great day.